All right, good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the December 19th meeting of the Conservation Commission. First item on the agenda is to review, excuse me,
Like a gavel?
the meeting's in order.
Excuse us.
First item on the agenda is to review and approve minutes.
No minutes to approve.
We have no minutes. Second item, sign bills.
No bills?
That's even better. Okay, on to meetings and hearings. The first continued public hearing has been continued till our January 16th meeting, and that's for a construction of a single-family home and septic at 195 Gulf Street. The second continued public hearing is regarding a notice of intent filed by Lake 20 LLC, 360 Hartford Turnpike, for the construction of a self-storage facility and associated site work at 170 Hartford Turnpike.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of Lake 20 LLC, I'm John Grenier with J.M. Grenier Associates. Since at our last hearing, it was requested that we, although this portion of the, what I'll call the Market Basket property, this was flagged and it had a wetland line that was locked in as part of the order of conditions for the overall development of Market Basket. It was requested that, since it's been a couple of years, to re-flag the wetland associated with this portion of the site, which we did. We had the surveyor go reset the flags. We had our wetland scientist go and walk the line, make sure he was happy with the line. And then we coordinated a meeting with Ecotech, who is the consultant wetland scientist firm that the town uses. So that we had that site walk on Thursday with Matt Morrow, who is our wetland consultant, and with Art Allen from Ecotech. And the results of that reflagging and review, there were two sections of the wetland line that were modified in the field, and it was over towards, on the westerly side of the site, this is where the power lines cut through across Route 20 and then subtly down through Flint Pond, where flag A2 is, which is about where I think it was the second flag, and they modified the location of that flag and put a new flag series in there. And I believe it was where flag A7 is, which is kind of in this area where the wetland comes into the site. So that, again, was changed on Thursday. There will need to be, we had some drainage adjacent to, in the area of off-grading, and then some drainage adjacent to where flag A7 is, and then there were some storage unit buildings in this area. So where the survey was supposed to go out and relocate those flags yesterday. Yesterday wasn't such a good day, I think, for a lot of people. So he's heading out there tomorrow to locate those new flags. And based on that, I'm sure we're going to have to make some modifications to the layout and some of the buildings, because just the proximity to the buffer zones and to the wetland, we're going to have to make some modifications, particularly in this westerly area of the site. Since our last meeting too, we had comments from the town's consultant engineer for the planning board, Graves Engineering. They had some areas where we might have to make some modifications, again, to where we have some subsurface drainage in its proximity to Flint Pond. We need to relocate that and shift it a little bit so we have a little more distance to Flint Pond from that subsurface drainage, as well as other areas that I know that your commission had talked about for areas of snow storage and whatnot. So this is more of a giving you an update as to where we stand. We know we're gonna have to make some changes, and we're looking to make those changes based on the new flagging in those two areas, comments from your commission as well as comments from the planning board. So just wanted to kind of give you an update as where we stand now, and that we're gonna be looking for, obviously, continuation. And we'll be looking to make those modifications and have something into you for your January meeting. So, any questions so far? We'd like to address them.
Chris, do you have any questions?
I mean, obviously concerned about the amount of impervious surface we have now compared to what we originally approved and reviewed. So, I mean, it's more than quadrupling, at least the square footage is. I'm not sure about well, I guess all of it would be impervious, right? It's either rooftop or paved surface.
Right.
So I'd want to see what you guys are planning to do with all that water, and how it's going to recharge.
And just to kind of give you a quick overview, in the previous retail development that was approved here, which was in this area, in the northerly section, that the runoff from that portion of the site, that was being treated and then discharged into what that wet basin is. So what we did is we took the same, and this was reviewed by Graves Engineer, we took the same amount of impervious area and treating that's still going into that same common detention basin. And then in order to balance grades, all these storage units there, as you go down to the south, they're stepping down, stepping down, stepping down, stepping down to kind of balance the grades on the site, and then we're treating that and recharging that into the ground. And that was reviewed by Graves Engineering, and in terms of the overall concept, they're fine with it. The only modifications they were looking for is, according to Mass DEP stormwater management guidelines, if you're recharging water into the ground, they want it to be 50 feet away from the resource area. So we need to, on the westerly side, shift that subsurface recharge further away, so we're maintaining that 50-foot offset. So, but that has been reviewed. And the material on site, for the most part, there's like a hogback that runs right down the middle of the site. If it wasn't ledge, it was good material. In the lower parts of the site, it was all good sand and gravel. And that site has been worked historically before the movie, the drive-in theater was there. There was good sand and gravel in there. Somebody went in, they took all the good sand and gravel out, and they left, a few piles of boulders, and then the ledge, obviously, they didn't touch. So it's good sandy gravelly material, unless it's ledge.
Right. Okay.
So you have presented to us something that's vastly larger than what we've approved. We approved 2 buildings on that site, and you have an order of conditions for that now, which I don't understand how you can have an open order and then continue with a new order. Something should be closed out, or the original order should be amended. So that's a problem that we have right now. That needs to be resolved.
What I think makes sense is, obviously, since the Market Basket project, obviously, they're built out, they're completed, I would think they'd want to close out that order of conditions, get a certificate of compliance on that, and I can coordinate with the owners.
Well, I think what we probably would like to see is that order be amended, because there's an order there now, and what was presented to us and what we approved was with a site with 2 buildings, 16,000 square feet, with significant buffer area to the lake.
Now, okay, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but just procedurally, now originally, this piece was contiguous, I believe, with the other parcels. This got chopped out as a separate parcel. They A&R'd this lot out. Although it still shares, obviously, the same common access, the same driveways.
All the
some of
drainage.
Drainage.
Yeah, so it was approved as a part of the overall project.
Right.
And the lot that was presented to us was the project was significantly smaller. So, I think the board is looking for something in kind, not 5 times the size, is what you're presenting to us. So that's what the board is looking for, not that.
So if it's if it's an amendment, does it matter if it's an amendment or a new filing?
That's a problem that needs to be resolved, I think, before we can go any further.
Okay, all right, I'll reach out to the owner's attorney who, and see how because obviously they're involved in this as the seller, and obviously they're the ones that permitted this overall project.
Right.
So and their attorney's Mark Donahue. I'll reach out to Mark and have him contact his clients and see what they think is, they're still the owners of this property. It's under purchase and sale. So we'll take a look and see how they want to proceed with it and make sure it's done cleanly.
And I think you should look at the project and look what was approved originally and look at what you're presenting now. And I think you should look at trying to scale it back.
Okay.
That's just what our thoughts. And all these questions in the memo, October memo from the DEP in the town, are you going to answer every one of these?
Yes, absolutely.
Diane?
Well, I mean, if that's what's gonna happen, then I don't have questions, because I've been through the DEP comments, and they're asking if there are any alternative site layouts or locations that have been considered which would reduce or eliminate how close you are to that flood zone.
So we'll be addressing all of their comments and obviously taking into consideration your comments as well.
Press 9 on your phone. Tara, Emma, get off the phone.
Let me see if I can mute them.
You get hijacked.
Boop.
Okay,
There we go. Okay, muted. Sorry. Don't know what that was.
all right. Do you have anything else? You sure?
Well, they were also asking about snow storage, to make sure that there's enough actual space for it instead of imagined space.
Okay.
Yeah, you can look at the DEP comments yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
Leah?
Yeah, I think that just following up, we tend to not have 2 orders open at this, or 2 projects
Right.
open for the same property at the same time, so.
And just so you know
clarifying
where I
who's
was
open.
coming from, where it was obviously a much different project from what was approved before. I've had situations say, well, it's so much different, maybe you should file for a new, make a new application because it is so much different, as opposed to if it's just a variation where, you were shifting one of the buildings or modifying the size of some parking or whatever, it'd be, okay, that's an amendment or modification. Where it was just a completely different project, we thought it was appropriate to file for make a new filing. But
Yeah.
back to your point, I'll circle back with
Yeah.
Mark Donahue.
And to get back to when we were looking at the overall site, Market Basket, there's quite a large development there. And they
Right.
developed a large portion of the site. And this was shown, as it was shown, it was 16,000 square foot, 2 buildings, 16,000 square
Right.
feet, and a significant amount of open space to protect the lake. And that was brought up and discussed by all their consultants and all the people that came and sat down during their presentations, and it was something that we wanted to see. Now you're taking all that away.
Right.
So that's something that you need to consider.
Yeah. And we'll be discussing, obviously, with the planning board, and the reason it changed was where this portion of the site is so isolated from the overall site, because when you pull in to the site across from Lake Street at the intersection, you pull in, you have the new Starbucks right there. Then there's the big wooded hill, which that's preserved because there were some Indian artifacts. So that can't get touched, so you have about a 25-foot high hill. So you can't really see this portion of the site, and I'm looking more in terms of retail visibility. And then it's on the other side of the detention basin, it's like a peninsula. So in terms of developing it for retail, and it's kind of out of sight, you don't get a lot of visibility. So it didn't really seem like it was a good, viable retail spot for visibility purposes, and now we're in the age of Amazon, where everybody's buying everything online. So we looked at, okay, retail seems kind of like a very sketchy prospect for that portion of the site. What's something that doesn't necessarily need good visibility and, a lot of foot traffic. So this is why we shifted in this direction. So I'm just letting you know
No, that, I understand.
right. And then obviously with storage, it's a fairly expensive site to develop because there is a knob of ledge that runs through the middle of the site, and there are going to be cuts and fills. So to make things viable, obviously you need the square footage, you need the rentable space. So, and I understand environmentally,
It's a
protection of the lake, I get it.
Very
but
sensitive area.
I'm saying that's what was kind of driving the development of this.
And driving our position is that what was presented to us in the previous order was that was going to remain as is, and it was going to be protect the lake, and they didn't need to develop it.
Right.
So now things do change, so
Okay.
you need to come back with something that's significantly smaller, I would hope, and see what happens.
Okay.
We had discussed at probably several meetings ago that the snow storage would be moved to the existing parking lot, since Market Basket has such a significant parking lot.
We had a meeting with the Market Basket people actually this morning on site, because also part of that is beyond what's allowed under zoning, the Market Basket, they have a significant investment in their site. They have quite a bit of say over what gets developed on this portion of the site. They don't want anything that's going to negatively affect the overall development. So we were on site with them looking at it, and we did discuss the option of putting some snow storage in other portions of the site. So,
Okay.
and we're having continuing conversations with them on, what we're doing for plantings and some of the lighting and whatnot. So we're incorporating that as part of that conversation.
Awesome. Okay. Getting confirmation of that, so it's not just kind of an afterthought.
Right.
And just getting shoved into the lake would be great.
We'll keep it out of the lake.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right,
That's all I have.
you all set? Any questions from the audience? Okay, so we'll
Okay.
continue this to January 16th?
All right, yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we have a continued public hearing regarding a notice of intent filed by Capstone Realty Trust, 69 Park Ave, New Worcester, for the construction of a single-family home and driveway at 36 Sewell Street, Lot 1, Lot 2, Lot 3, and Lot 4.
I guess I should first ask Mr. Chairman to continue the hearing on Lot 1, which is sort of being considered separately from Lots 2, 3, and 4.
Okay,
And I'm here representing James Tatro from Azimuth Land Design, representing Capstone Realty Trust in regard to the notice of intent those is plural, filed for lots 2, 3, and 4. We were just at the planning board recently at their meeting at the beginning of December. They heard our application for a special permit for the common driveway. They closed the hearing. They did not issue the final decision. They did not have that ready at the meeting. I was pushing to get them just to close the meeting. It seems you guys and they have this contest about who gets to be last one to close. And seems like there's different messages from both sides. Well, we always like to let the other guys go first. But anyways, so at the last meeting, I think there was just a couple, it was sort of a procedural snafu that the October 10, 2023 plans hadn't all gone out, which showed the revision that we made pursuant to the Graves Engineering letter for the planning board, which was we moved the infiltration area from here on the south side of the common driveway, just past the wetland crossing, to a little further east of the crossing and over to the north side. And that was to get the separation from the wetland and from the nearby septic system leaching area on Lot 2 at the same time. That was the single biggest change we made to that letter. There were other couple small ones, but I don't believe there's any about the boundary. Again, this was the site, as you were having multiple discussions with other people about perennial stream status, that we sent in observations from back in April on 4 consecutive days that showed this not flowing, to confirm that it's not, and it didn't have the requisite, or I guess I should say, the indicative overall drainage area to support it being considered to be a perennial. I think it was less than a half square mile when you went on the stream stats and found what was going to, it's actually sort of a ponding area over here from which outflow is piped right behind this neighbor's house, O'Neill, and discharges out here. That's the great majority of the flow here, because there's only a little portion of this site that drains into this channel. And again, so we had submitted the observations right away to rebut that presumption that it being shown as perennial was correct. Again, I don't believe there's any controversy about the wetland lines. We already had the septic system plans approved on these lots. And as I say, we now have, the planning board closed their hearing, but they didn't actually issue a final special permit decision. And again, as I say, last meeting, I think there was more an absence of some of the documents that maybe it might have stopped things from going forward than anything else. But I'll try and answer any questions that you may have.
So all the A&R lots are all set?
Actually,
And you have-
that's another thing we did was.
I think that had been the big thing holding it up,
Right.
was whether
Yeah.
the final
Yeah.
addresses would be.
The A&R was filed, and I believe it's been signed. The applicant, in fact, we spoke on the phone this afternoon, said he has the Mylar in hand, and the assessor's office assigned numbers 23, 5, 7 Sewell Street to these lots. Anything else?
Do you know that when that will be recorded?
Oh, it actually is probably going to be recorded tomorrow, because
Okay, I know
uh,
Ruth had said
yeah, the
it's not
assessor.
recorded by the end of the year. It'll be a while before it
Yeah.
gets real addresses.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. The assessor made a point that if it's not recorded by the end of the year, the next fiscal year, it'll still all be taxed as one block of property, and, in the interim, they may be trying to sell off lots and trying to deal with that
Oh, yeah.
complication. So it should actually be recorded tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. Chris?
I recall from last meeting, there was a discussion around the driveway, the common driveway being 18 feet wide. Do we know for certain that that's going to meet fire code? It's not going to be widened?
Actually, we do. We got comments back from the fire department, and because that had come up as a question, it was Seth Colby from the fire department who was responding. I actually emailed him back explicitly, and I said, hey, on this other thing, we were told, somebody was told that 20 feet was what was required, and he said that is in a commercial development, not a residential development, that the fire department wants to see at least 20 on a common driveway.
Okay.
So he's confirmed that the 18 feet is okay on this one.
If you could forward that email to me,
Oh,
that would be great.
I didn't have any other questions.
Okay. Diane?
I just have a very odd question. Maybe you can answer, probably you cannot. I actually looked at, well, it was hard to see, was it lot 1, was it lot 2? Quite a while ago, so a few months ago. And I found that everything, just as, all the photographs say, there's just no proof that this is a perennial stream of any kind. Dry, not deep, all of that.
Right.
But I followed it, and suddenly a pipe comes out of the ground, and water's coming out of it. And that's, I'm not sure if that's in lot 1, it may be in lot 2.
I've seen lot 1 lot 2 several times, because we've tried to enter each time that we came in with a machine, like right about here.
Yeah, right about there.
So I guess I'd be surprised if it's in lot 2, but maybe
It may,
lot
so
1.
maybe it's just in lot 1.
It could be multiple things. It could even be years ago, and a butter's drained from their property.
Yep,
Goes
it could be
across the
coming from
street?
across the street.
Yeah.
That's my question was, because there's
There-
water flowing and it, everything else was dry, and there it was flowing.
Hmm.
And it's a short, red pipe, nice
Okay.
and shiny, reddish brown.
I'll have to take a closer look.
And I was just wondering, where does the water come from?
There's not, I can tell you, one thing you would immediately wonder, okay, is there street drainage, are there
Right.
catch basins, et cetera, in the street, and that's where one of them is discharging, but there aren't. So all it leaves you with is an abutter on the other side. It would seem to stretch it. Is it coming from the street side
Well, so
that
there
it's
is,
discharging?
there's an older pipe, or a very old pipe that's
Yeah.
metal, that sticks out of the, I don't know how to describe it.
Slope.
Is this the slope? Okay, it sticks right out, and it's rusting on the bottom, and there's no water coming out of that. You go just upwards towards lot 2, but
Yeah.
probably it's on lot 1, and not very far, and bang, there's that pipe.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, because if you're saying that they're over here by this slope, the only other, I don't want to say suspect, that's too pejorative, but the other party you might wonder about is there's a house right here on this lot, but he's on the other side.
No,
No,
no.
there's no street drainage. Theoretically, again, somebody, in the course of somebody working on or constructing this road, they could have put in sort of a sub-drain
Yep.
that is draining the road out, even though there's not visually on the surface any, catch basins capturing flow. There could be a sort of a sub-drain doing it, and not, something from an abutter. That's an interesting, I'm gonna have to take a look. 'Cause you
Yeah,
piqued my
'cause
curiosity with
my,
that.
underneath that question is this question.
Yep.
If this is a stream that has been put underground and nobody knows it because it wasn't recorded, will that be a problem when you are constructing the driveway?
For this one here, we're talking
Yeah,
about?
the common driveway.
I don't believe so, because I think we're talking about an area, I suspect we're on lot 1, and and the flow is going north to south.
Right, the flow is going north to south.
Right, so, I mean, the flow that this stream can actually get is this 12-inch pipe at 1%, which is basically 3 CFS. And this culvert is going to be 12-foot span, 2-foot inside height, which is many multiples of ability to convey flow of that pipe there. Even if that pipe actually was above this, I'd say it's not gonna be a problem.
Okay,
Because this gets so oversized because of the need to meet the US Army Corps openness ratio, which in this case, blows it way out of proportion relative to the flow it's gonna get, but that's just the way it is.
all right. It's just been a mystery hanging in my brain.
I'm gonna take a look now. I'm
Okay,
surprised I didn't see. Some of these areas are so overgrown with.
Poison ivy.
With bittersweet and stuff, it's
Yeah.
just amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
it's pretty gross in there.
Yeah. sometimes you feel bad leading the excavator through and knocking down vegetation. Other times you're like, oh, just get it. And this was definitely the latter.
That was my only,
You all set?
yeah, that's.
Anybody in the audience have any questions? Yes, can you come up to the mic and state your name and
Address.
Chris Kirk, 40 Westwood Road. Is this area sewered?
No, it's not.
So these are going to be septic systems? And I just asked because earlier this year, at the north end of the lake, the health department said that nobody could enter the water at Gauch Park, and due to high E. coli. So I was just wondering whether this putting a sewer system in, a septic system in, with an intermittent stream, spring runoff, whether it would overload the septic systems and just make a bad situation worse. That's all.
okay.
Well, through the chair, I can tell you that these 3 septic system plans were all approved by the Board of Health. They're all in areas which were, again, from the engineer's perspective, fantastic super gravelly soil with extremely deep depth. In each case, actually, I think our depth to groundwater was simply as deep as we could go and measure it before the sides caved in. It wasn't a matter of even seeing a change of soil or anything. And again, all these systems, because it was such fast gravelly soil, will have an extra separation 5 feet to groundwater rather than the normal 4. So I think all the normal precautions are being taken here.
Any other questions? Okay, so I guess we can close this hearing.
For 2, 3, and 4, right?
I did have a recommendation,
Go right ahead.
or that you might need to agree to. A possible condition might be that the order be recorded with the new addresses,
Oh,
so that
absolutely.
it is not lost to time, and that the blah blah blah, the new addresses be recorded as soon as possible, so that that deed can be on record to record against.
Yeah, we agree. And again, lot 4 should be number 23. Lot 3 should be number 25.
Okay.
Lot 2 should be number 27,
Okay.
according to Truth Airs.
Yes, I did receive a copy of her A&R map today, so I can add that to the file. And when I read the order of conditions, it will reflect that. I just want to make sure that it gets copied in.
Understood.
I did have another question. No, it's gone now.
Well, if it
There you
comes
go.
back when we
Yep.
do the end, we do it, you can add it in. Okay, I guess we're all set.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I do remember it. Lot 1, do you have an idea of when that will be opened
Absolutely.
again?
Next one, we will be in front of you.
Okay,
and,
because we don't want that one to,
yes, I'm
keep
not
on haranguing
tracking
too.
back. Actually intended to be here this time, and there's been some back and forth about things with the respective owner.
Okay, next continued public hearing regarding a notice of intent filed by Whitney Street Home Builders, 118 Turnpike Road, Suite 200, Southborough, Mass. For the construction of a single-family home and associated parking, drainage, and stormwater utilities at 276 Green Street.
Yep. Hello again, Mr. Chairman. James Tatro again from Azimuth Land Design, here representing Whitney Street Home Builders. At the last meeting, we were here for this, and again, we had simply only gotten some information to the town engineer shortly before the meeting, which he hadn't had time to look at. He had requested a copy of the deep observation hole log in this area with sandy loam soil, 36 inches depth to groundwater, and a Paxton Surrey soil, absolutely commonplace characteristics. Also, the stormwater checklist had just been submitted to him. And I think it was because those 2 things had come in so late that he was reluctant to recommend that the commission sign off. But the before that last meeting, the wetland boundary was reviewed by the folks at Ecotech, who didn't have any recommended changes to it. There's work that was done for the adjacent site on a separate order. There was some silt in the easement path from that, and stump grindings were put down to cover that. That was something that was noted in Ecotech's report. They said, yeah, we went out and looked at the wetland line, we didn't disagree with any of those, but, gee, when they did this installation of sewer line, they didn't close things up, and there were areas of silt, and they have since put down, but that, I'm mentioning this, although it's actually under the work for the other order, but that has been dealt with temporarily, and it's to be loamed and seeded in the springtime. I just want to not avoid it, because it was part of Ecotech's report when they looked at these wetland boundaries. But since the last time, I think there's been time now to look at that, the depot log, which was, again, unexceptional for a Paxton series soil, and the stormwater report checklist, which, again, I think we're meeting all the standards from DP, the 10 standards. Runoff here from the building and from the pavement down to almost the intersection with coming off of Green Street is going to be picked up and sent, the building directly to it, but from the pavement, picked up by catch basins, go through a drain manhole, a CDS stormwater filter unit to remove pollutants, then into a infiltration structure, and that's actually going to eat up everything through the 2-year storm before it has any outflow, and then out to a riprap splash pad. And this building and work location, I believe, respects the 15 and 30-foot offsets that when this was first filed, that the town had as guidelines, but is now part of the bylaw. If there's any questions, one more. We made one change to the plan, which was because happened to be looking at site plan standards elsewhere, and saw that one of the requirements that got you into filing a site plan was if you had a 2-to-1 or steeper slope of a certain height. We made the grading over in this area 2.5-to-1 to not trigger that threshold and require a site plan filing for this lot.
Do we have a DEP number for this?
Yes. Is it
1498?
1498 would not make sense.
Yeah, that's too old, right? It's an old number that was there on the site.
You have the DEP number?
Where did I just put it? Here it is. It's 1984, so you have all the numbers.
Yeah,
Just a long
That's,
one.
yeah, that's supposed to be on the side.
1984 makes sense?
That sounds right. I'm sorry, I don't have the
That's okay. All right,
correspondence.
as long as we,
Oh, did I plunk in the wrong thing? When I I think the only notes I had was that Andy and I had reviewed the submitted materials over the course of the month, and they were all set. The soil logs were fine. And then Ecotech had recommended a condition that the undelineated wetlands be noted on the plans, be just noted that there are some undelineated ones.
Oh, yeah,
unmapped ones
because,
on the site.
as Aaliyah's leading to, this is part of I get it right, is it a 20-acre parcel, which extends at this scale almost to the ceiling? And this wetland continues all the way up to Fortune Boulevard at the north end. And we're not trying to, reestablish exactly where hundreds of other flags are.
Yeah. I think it was all set after that.
okay, Chris,
I have no questions.
questions? Diane?
Well, yeah, I do have a question. One is, I'm not sure that are we able to see like 15-foot, 30-foot zones?
They're not drawn on this plan. Again, we first submitted it before the advent of the law. But let me just put a scale.
So I can see 100 feet.
Yep.
But,
I mean, as I put a scale to this, I get 17 feet to the line of boulders behind this house. The proposed line of boulders.
okay. All right, which does the 30 feet.
Right, and to the building itself, oops, sorry, jumped to the wrong scale. I get 32. So I mean, as I say, I think it was designed with the intent of abiding by what were at that point just guidelines, but now our town law.
Okay,
And that
well,
the limit of work will be along that boulder line as well.
all right, so this is, again, just a question. The proposed building is sort of pushed close to the wetlands area. And my question is, does it have to be that close? Because what's raised here is that there is a large amount of proposed soil disturbance in the buffer zone. And I believe that's the 100-foot buffer zone,
Correct.
associated with the cuts and fills.
Mhm.
So my question is, does it need to be there?
Well, I guess you could argue that you could come up with a little different position of things, and be a little further away. I can't deny that that's impossible, but again, we did go into this trying to respect the town's guideline and did so with the design. And again, as I was mentioning, we did add proposed line of boulders at the limit of work there. Could this all have been pushed out of here? I don't think so, actually, all of it, because there's a couple of restrictions going on with this property. You've got that sewer and water easement here, and you've got another one here. And you're actually kind of limited in what you do going this way, because you kind of have to leave this alone. And could this all, I guess I would say that it theoretically could have been pulled more out of it, but I don't know that we were ever gonna pull all of this out of the buffer zone. Especially to try and make the drainage work, we were probably gonna be coming over to this same area, probably almost no matter what, because it just suits everything. It's downhill, it's got a reasonable way to install a drainage structure there. So theoretically, yes, it could have been less, but, again, we are still holding to the town's guideline now, bylaw restrictions.
I'm fine.
Okay. Right here, anybody in the audience have any questions? Okay, so you think we'll close it? We have enough information to close it? We all set?
Okay.
Okay, we can close it.
Thank you for your time, and I hope if Jason and Martha if they're well and predisposed some way and not missing this for illness.
Right there. All right. Moving on. So, we up,
Oh, yes, we're continued, aren't we?
right? So we got that. I'll do the continued, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We have a continued public hearing regarding the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, Viola Dave Calhoun, Saxton Partners LLC, 25 Recreation Park Drive, Suite 204, Hingham, Mass., for the delineation of a perennial river and inland bank of an intermittent stream at 2834 Cherry Street and 45 47 and 63 Memorial Drive. This hearing has been continued to February of 2024.
You?
Yep.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions, general laws, chapter 131, section 40, and the town of Shrewsbury wetlands and bylaw regulations that William Blaine Stein, 18 Quail Hollow Drive, Shrewsbury, Mass., has filed a notice of intent for the construction of a garage at 18 Quail Hollow Drive.
Pretty nice.
You can come up and speak in the mic.
Okay, I'm William Blaine Stein, 18 Quail Hollow Drive. I'm the homeowner.
Good evening. My name is Dave Sadowski from DJ and Associates. I'm the principal of DJ and Associates, and I'm here to represent Mr. Stein on this filing.
Okay,
You guys are welcome to have a seat.
you can
Yeah.
sit down.
too. There's a, should be a microphone
On the table, yeah.
somewhere in there. That massive.
I usually have a kind of a loud whisper. What Mr. Stein has proposed is to put a independent freestanding garage in the back of his property. And this garage is only, he collects Porsche automobiles. And this would be a storage garage, kind of like if you had Matchbox cars, to be able to keep his cars in the garage. They'd only be used maybe once every 3 months. We've been before site plan review, and we were approved for the property. We actually got a variance because there is a sewer easement back there that goes through the Stony Hill subdivision. There's a backyard, there's a setback of 30, but that's it's a reduced area size subdivision where the lots were reduced down to a half acre so that they could keep open space. So we went through the board and we were approved for the placement of the garage. We're here before you tonight because we're within the buffer, we're outside the 30-foot line, and there's also off-property, there's also a brook that runs year-round. So we have an inner riparian, we have an outer riparian zone. We've moved the 22 by 22 garage, storage garage, as far away from the riverfront as possible. So we don't violate or we don't encroach into the 15 no touch or the 30 no 15 no structure and the 30 no touch zones. I think that's the way they're labeled. So we're here before the board to see if we can get a favorable decision on the placement of the building. Thank you. I'm open for any questions.
So how
Chris?
is there going to be a paved surface or a drive or something to get to it? Just gonna drive across lawn?
I'm gonna do the stones you can drive over where the grass grows through.
Yep.
Because it's mostly for storage, and so I wanna keep the grass intact on between the two houses.
Okay.
Is the inner.
And if I could answer on that too, Mr. Chairman, the area in question, it would be his half of the easement where the sewer line goes down through. We'd be able to access that way and go up.
Okay. So from the same side where the driveway is now?
Correct.
Okay.
Just to the right of it.
Gotcha. All right.
So that access area would be the farthest away we could be from the wetland and or riverfront.
Okay. Gutters and storage of rainwater for this? It's not a huge building at 22 by
22 by 22 is the size of the building. There's nothing proposed right now. With
Okay.
the sewer easement there and the tight construction, there's he's got one of those koi ponds with the fish down below and a few other things in his backyard, so it's quite compact.
Okay.
Something could be done if the board wanted it, though.
Okay.
We would have to be within the 30-foot zone.
No other questions?
Can you explain how this is exempt from the Rivers Act and that the disturbance is allowed?
Sure. The Rivers Act talks about construction that occurs after July of 1996. There is an exemption for single and two-family houses on construction that occurred before that date. The construction of this house, according to the building department in Shrewsbury, was in spring of '95. So the house, the driveway, and the deck area were all constructed at that time.
But this proposed garage wasn't.
No, that's correct.
So
that-
this would fall under the Rivers Act.
That's correct. It'd be outside the 100-foot inner riparian, and it'd be as far away in the outer riparian as possible. There's a percentage on the top of the plan that shows the amount of area used compared to the overall lot area. Within that 100 to 200, it's less, I believe, less than 5% of that area inside the 100 to 200-foot riparian. I believe you're allowed up to 15% in the outer zone.
Okay. Okay. But that's at the discretion of the board.
It's, everything's at the discretion of the board.
Right. Okay. So what you're saying is, since the house predates it, you can't, it's exempt, and the garage doesn't predate it, but that should now be covered under the Rivers Act, and we can, based on the percentage of disturbance of this proposed garage, we're still under the allowed limit?
That's correct, sir. Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I do just want to correct those numbers.
Okay.
You've written that there's 7.45% disturbance, and the maximum impact is 10%, not 15.
Okay.
So they are still under.
Okay.
Yeah, I just didn't want to, yeah. it's
I'm
10%.
sorry I misquoted the number. I knew there was a 5 in there somewhere, 7.45.
Diane?
No, I've looked at this a lot, and I can't come up with questions about it.
Thank you.
It is a very compact backyard. That was my first impression. But if it's, okay, all right, that's all I have.
I have a question on the block retaining wall. What is it? What is it made out of? Do you have a detail on it any place? How high is it?
That is a question.
It's a maximum of 6, it's a minimum of 5. Well, excuse me, it's a minimum of 1 foot where it wraps into the slope. There is a detail, I believe, shown there with some drainage pipe. Maybe it's on the one that was presented at site plan.
Yeah, we should know. So how high is it's 6 feet high?
Does not exceed 6 feet, yes, sir.
Don't you need anything over 4 feet? You need a fence on top of it?
You talk about the existing.
If you give me a second.
Is that
Okay.
there's a proposed block wall around? Looks like it's around this building.
I guess this plan doesn't, it's got a PE stamp and it also has a land surveying stamp on it.
Yeah?
I guess a detail could be submitted.
Well, it's over, you said it's 6 feet.
Yes, that's
So you're gonna need a building permit for that? And
We're gonna need a building permit for the garage too.
all right, but you're gonna need to show a detail for that wall to get the permit, and you're gonna have to have a fence on probably a portion of it,
All right,
right?
yes.
Okay. And then to get off of that, what are the grades and what is the excavation of this? What is the footing and foundation, and what does that look like?
That could all be shown in the detail.
Right, so are you going to be taking all the fill away from here when you excavate this?
As it sits now, the grade, there is some grading on here, it's not out as dark as it is, but mostly, if you did a site walk at the property, it's a much of a plateau right in here, and this is all fill section. This bottom of this wall will be matching the existing grade, and it would be built up in that area. And then it would wrap itself into the hill here. There's also there's an existing stone wall in this location, and the wall would wrap into here.
All right, we're gonna probably need to show some more detail on the elevation of the walls and the grading.
All right.
All right, Can you
Yeah.
do that for us?
I certainly can. I show an existing 365 at the bottom.
Yeah,
I show the garage floor at
Mhm.
370,
Right.
5, and I call the wall at 370.
all right. Well, at least at a minimum, we should have a detail on the wall and some type of grading
Okay.
shown.
Yeah, I have your, the construction plans you submitted for in the permit portal thingamabob. It shows the walls, but I don't know if it shows the heights and details of them.
Does it show a wall with the drain pipe behind and piece stone? Pressure with it. Understand pressure.
And where is that sub-drain gonna be discharged? You have to show that as well.
I think it was just
It's a
basically
different-
the weep holes in the wall itself.
Just weep hole, well,
Yeah.
if that's the detail, then that's fine.
4-inch PVC, they
Mhm.
would run in the piece stone, with the filter sock wrapped around the pipe itself, so it wouldn't get encroached.
Right. All right, and this is all out of the flood zone, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I mean, do you guys have any more questions?
No, I think getting the detail on the block wall would be helpful.
Let's see if I can pull that up.
Anybody in the audience have any questions? We'll wait for Leah, and then probably have to
sorry.
continue this then. if there's-
I don't believe we have a DEP file number anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So I
then,
don't think you can close it
it's
here.
gonna be continued anyway, so you have to come back, Dave, so
Correct.
you can come back with all that other information, and hopefully we can finish it up.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you.
I did have a question, Mr. Chairman.
What would that be?
The members that are not present, would they be privy to tapes of this, so they would be allowed to vote for this?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
So we will see you January 16th, correct?
That is the time.
That's the next meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Town of Shrewsbury Wetlands Bylaw and Regulations, that Charles Petrowitz, 23 Eaglehead Terrace, Shrewsbury, Mass., has filed a notice of intent for the construction of a pool deck and patio at 7-27 Eaglehead Terrace.
That
Yep,
hearing
here.
has been continued to January meeting.
Oh,
Okay?
okay.
All right. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions and general laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Town of Shrewsbury Wetlands Bylaw and Regulations, that Kevin Mizikar, Town of Shrewsbury, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, has filed a notice of intent for the establishment of a Landscape 1 cemetery, including the removal of trees and construction of a cemetery structure at 65 Prospect Street.
I'll share with
Thank you for waiting. It's a thing to get into.
It's not marked.
Well, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ricardo Ostrich. I'm Director of Landscape Architecture for VSC Group, and I'd like to introduce our team to present this project to you this evening. Amanda Smith, our permitting specialist, and Don Rinaldi, Senior PE for VSC Group. And Amanda, I'm going to let them talk because they know more about regulations related to this. I'm more related to the landscape and the kind of aesthetic value of what we're hoping to build a landscape cemetery for the town of Shrewsbury, which is in need of this facility, and hopefully much different than what's currently existing.
Okay.
All right.
So, this is an expansion of the existing cemetery, which is across the street over here, but they're taking a new approach. It's not gonna be your traditional, gravestones. It's gonna be, more of, other sort of ornamentation type things, and they want to keep it very park-like. The wetlands that we're working with are all up here, so there's not a whole lot of impact. It's primarily just buffer zone impacts. I believe they're removing 15 trees from within the 100-foot buffer zone that are over that 24-inch caliper or DBH, and then within the 30-foot, they're not removing any, but there are 5 trees over 12-inch DBH. They're not removing any from the 15-foot buffer, and no activity is occurring in the 15-foot buffer, but there is a little bit of work in the 30-foot buffer for the constructed wetland system. Additionally, they're proposing to restore some of this rock wall, which has fallen apart, and kind of continue it to also serve as a stone weir. I believe there's some flooding issues with where the culvert comes underneath the road and flooding downstream, and so the town had requested something they could maybe try to help slow the water a little bit before it reaches that culvert. And so that's kind of the thought there, as well as restoring that that historic look of that rock wall. Yeah, that's kind of the gist of the project.
Okay. So so the overall cemetery, when you say it's not a traditional cemetery, so there are no markers or?
Well,
I don't-
actually,
how
no,
does this-
I should actually correct that. So the intent is, this is the cemetery is intended to serve the town of Shrewsbury for the next 50 years. What is occurring in terms of cemetery development now is that increasingly people are turning towards cremated remains or cremation. So the expectation is, initially, the expectation is that at least at this very front entrance along Prospect Street, that'll have more of the traditional cemetery look. But as we look out to the sort of 50-year horizon line, we expect that more people will be being interred in cremated remains. And so one of the important elements that we have chosen to maintain are the existing stone walls, because the intent is to reuse those as markers, so that the idea is that cremated remains can be buried along the stone walls as memorial stones and markers. But it is going to be what is considered, it's not a green cemetery, which technically means that people are buried in shrouds. It will be a hybrid cemetery, so it will be some traditional burial. We expect that to be sort of the bulk of the initial development, closer to Prospect Street. But as time progresses and as we move towards the west, we anticipate with a greater degree of cremation and green burial, the impacts will be of a much more kind of landscape approach to the cemetery, and so that's been the intent.
So do you do any special preparation for the site?
In advance of this development?
Yeah, I've seen in other areas, other towns where they've gone in and they've augmented the soil to make sure there wasn't a lot of boulders or a lot of.
Well, as part of the development, we are expecting, you can see we are actually planting trees and creating a 50-foot buffer along the residential edge below. But we are expecting a certain amount of clearing within the cemetery so that, people can be interred, in a kind of traditional way, so they can be buried in the soil. So we will have to be doing sort of boulder removal in the areas where we are removing some trees and removing plants so that people can be buried here.
All right. And when would this work commence?
We are hoping to finish the drawings this spring and presumably go out to bid sometime later this spring for construction this summer and next fall.
Chris?
No questions right now.
Diane?
I thought that I read that there was a wetlands restoration more than the weir.
The constructed wetlands,
There's a- Yeah.
that's our stormwater management system.
Yeah, Dom, you want to speak up?
Good evening again. For the record, Dominic Rinaldi with BSC Group, civil engineer. As far as stormwater management goes, we're going with a very low impact surface type technique. The grades generally roll and
Want the grading plan?
Yeah, north is up. Okay, north is up. Generally, grade down to the north towards the wetlands, so what we have strewn throughout the property is a series of fire retention areas to pick up runoff from the limited impervious areas, and up sort of in the northeasterly corner, we are doing a constructed wetland stormwater feature. It is not a wetland replication area. It's actually for stormwater collection and treatment and peak flow attenuation. So it's graded out, it's into a series of, there's a permanent pool, there's low marsh areas, high marsh areas, but it's not connected directly to the wetlands. It will allow stormwater to build up, has an overflow feature and an outlet control structure that'll discharge towards the wetlands. And it's going to be planted with wetland seed mix and some wetland shrubs, and over time, it will easily be mistaken for a wetland as it grows in, but functionally it is a stormwater BMP. Will need to be periodically maintained and things of that nature.
Okay. So I'm trying to construct what I remember from reading about this, but there will be sections that are maybe 6 inches deep and others that are maybe 1.5 feet deep.
Yeah, maybe a little deeper. I forget how
And
deep
they
the
will,
pool is.
they'll basically go like this, so that you have a slowing down of water.
Correct. Yes, as the water comes in from the south, the first piece, sort of a strip along this edge, is actually a shallow forebay to pick up some of the initial sediment. Then it rolls over and it goes through low marsh areas and ultimately into a permanent pool up in this area where the overflow structure is. And then in higher flow periods, it will build up into what's called the high marsh, which are the areas along the sides that are graded higher, but it sort of meanders through it slowly to slow it down, allows sediment to drop out, and ultimately, in addition to that, the wetland vegetation helps draw out, various other pollutants, phosphorus, nitrogen, things of that nature.
So, what I don't understand, and you probably already said it, is where the water is coming from to that.
So it's actually basically all overland flow. Everything we've designed
Overland flow.
is to have it come in overland flow, even off of the driveways and roadways. It all flows in this direction, and the grading that we've done on the site, which is relatively minimal, will direct the flow over the grass, just comes right over the berm into the forebay and down in.
So very naturally going to that area.
Yeah, we have this whole site for stormwater management, we have very few pipes. Very few pipes, very few actual physical structures, like, I guess we call like a concrete, like a catch basin or a manhole, things of that nature.
So nature-based
So
solution.
nature-based solutions, the idea, as Ricardo was saying, and Amanda was saying, is this type of cemetery functionally for the town almost doubles as a park.
Right.
That's what they're finding in the cemetery industry is towns don't just want 1 million bodies buried. That sounds harsh, but buried en masse. So this will function more as a park. So the idea of those natural stormwater features that can be an amenity and an aesthetic as well as functioning as stormwater management is what we went for here.
Okay, so kids can learn how to ride their bicycles here?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, people go for a walk, go for a jog, just get outside.
Yeah.
So there's no overall grading of the site?
There's some grading.
Oh, there's grading.
There's grading involved in
So there's no cuts and fills?
driveway. It's not major cuts and fills where we're trying to maintain. Generally, obviously, we have to do some grading for the driveways, some, grading for the stormwater features, but we're not leveling off huge sections and
Right.
up and down and leveling off sections.
It's really focused on the preservation of the existing, as much of the existing vegetation as we can preserve, so that we can create a park-like atmosphere for the burial of human remains. Here is.
And a lot of this grading and whatnot is you're well away from where the wetlands.
Yeah, most of the site as well, this green line here is the 100-foot buffer. So you can see the vast majority of work, all the impervious surfaces, and most of the site is outside of the 100-foot buffer.
Okay.
It just all happens. Which is why
All right, well, does anybody have anything, Leah?
So how close to will the constructed wetland be to the, existing wetlands?
It just gets into, this is kind of the general clearing area.
Okay,
So the clearing will get slightly into the 30-foot buffer,
okay,
but I think it'll be a little bit further from that.
We kept the toe as the slope's dropping off. There will be some catching up on the slope down on the north side, and all of that grading we kept outside of, I believe it's your 15-foot buffers.
Yes, yeah, the noticed
We
here.
kept everything outside of that, so it's 25-ish
Okay.
feet away from the wetland.
okay.
But the top of the berm, the actual area that's the constructed wetland itself, is probably 40 to 50 feet
Okay.
away.
Awesome. Yeah, I imagine the water will continue on its way into the wetlands, but giving it all the time that it can
Yes,
to
yeah,
knock
yeah.
off any gross things.
Yep.
It's always good. And then, this is a weird question. It sounds like this is more of a green leaning cemetery,
Yes.
but for the very traditional people who want to go to the grave as fresh as a daisy, I don't know if there are any limitations on any chemicals used to preserve bodies and the distance to wetlands that they have to be.
Right.
I don't know if there's any, you the permitting specialist might know some fun rules about that, but,
So maybe
Okay.
the health department might have some ideas for new cemeteries, for
Okay.
cemetery expansion.
it sounds like the more traditional, style will be pretty well
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
away.
intent is the traditional will be right along this sort of entry, and really that's really where I hope, and I think that's where, in terms of the demographic trends are occurring, is that the majority of people, boomers like myself, are really leaning towards green burial or cremation, so
Okay.
that's, this is following kind of the general demographic trends.
But there will be 200 or so feet of
Oh, yeah.
distance for
Oh,
that,
yeah, this
those
is,
chemicals to
this is
free themselves.
This
Right.
is 100 is my thumb. I don't know. where-
several hundred feet away, yeah.
Beautiful. Okay.
And I think, and when we have done the layouts, I mean, this is all really gonna be focused on cremation burial.
Okay,
So
cool.
that's-
I think the town engineer did have some questions about the grading,
Okay.
because I don't think was a grading plan specifically included, or a?
Yeah, there is, the grading plans are here, right? Here, there's an overall grade, there's,
I guess, we were going through and through and through, and we were just not quite finding
oh, here we go.
the elevations
Oh,
that
here we
we.
go. Thank you, Amanda, see, that's why, this is
What
the
pa-
overall grading plan.
What page is that?
Page is that?
It's, the page is C 2.0, so you see the overall, oops, sorry. C-2.0.
So it's page 26.
Oh my gosh,
So I was saying
maybe we
it's
just
in
didn't
the-
get
it's
that
in the
far.
middle.
It's in the middle.
Okay.
Sorry.
26.
It's a big site. To see it, you gotta have the close-ups, unfortunately. So.
So what, on these contour lines, what's existing and what's proposed? I'm getting,
So
it's hard to
you-
tell.
Okay, so the existing is a solid, and the proposed is dashed.
So,
Depends on what print you got.
yeah, so
Are you
the
sure?
existing
This is the other way around.
dash
So these are, this is,
These are new.
so yeah, these are new, that's solid.
Oh my God, those two.
I might have
I might have said
think-
the wrong one.
We don't have a DEP number on this, right?
No.
We did.
Oh, today?
Yes.
1988.
Okay.
Yeah, we did.
All right,
have
I
it.
see that, okay.
They, DEP had no comment.
Oh, they didn't,
Yeah, they did not.
so when you're doing this grading, how are you going to stabilize the area? Do you have a stabilization plan?
we have erosion and sedimentation control plans. That's the front there.
all right, they're in the front. Okay, so that's in the demo section. Hold on. Thank you. See, Amanda, I'm glad you said bring the whole set of drawings.
So you have a sequencing plan on how you're going to be doing this? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you just run through that too?
Okay, demo, here we go. Let's do the overall. So the overall demo is C-1.0. That's at the beginning of the site. Oh, thank you, Amanda. I'm gonna let you talk.
Yeah, so the goal is there's not, I mean, we call it demolition, but there's not actually a lot of demolition that has to occur. There's obviously the clearing for the areas where the burials and other features will occur, and some topsoil stripping and basic grading for the roadways. We will be putting straw wattles and erosion control along all the downhill perimeters, and other select areas to slow the water down. The intent with the town is this isn't gonna be, how big is the site total again, do you remember?
19 acres.
19 acres. We're not gonna, the intent isn't to come in and just work 19 acres at a time. It will be worked in parts. We didn't put it in as phases, cause it is ultimately intended to be built as one project, but exactly how it'll be sequenced, for means and methods purposes and bidding purposes on a public bid job, neither us nor the town wants to get into specifying exactly, how are you going to work your way from here down there, and let the contractor propose that. Otherwise, you get into, as I said, means and methods issues that end up actually potentially costing the town. But it will be worked in smaller pieces, probably from, is this the same angle?
Yeah, it's the same angle,
Yeah.
so it's really from
Yeah,
Prospect.
so
And we also
probably from
have,
Prospect in, as there's some area to come in, we're probably working your way in this way, up this way, along the side, and then progressively working your way in, is the most likely scenario, because this is ultimately the main entrance
Right.
and the driveway. So sort of, and this is an area for access and parking, so the idea is probably get that in first, and then work your way into the site. So it'd probably be this way, then that way.
and as part of the project, we've also included a redevelopment of the entrance to Prospect Park itself, which is very, very popular with the town, so that we've created a parking area at Prospect Park so that people can actually better enjoy that green space as part of the town. Because right now, people are just kind of stacked up when they park there. It can get
Right.
cramped.
Right.
Well, are the water tanks still there?
Yes.
They are.
They are not going away.
Up
Okay.
that way.
They're not going away.
Yeah,
You
that-
need them.
Yeah, that access will
Yeah.
still be there.
Yeah.
It's gonna get repaved, but
So this doesn't have to do with the wetlands, but along Prospect, do I remember that there's like, I don't know, at least 20 feet of trees that are being kept?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we're doing 20 feet of trees, and in the community comments from 2 years ago, what we also wanted to include was access so people can come along Prospect Street, sort of get them off the road, and so they can come along a walkway within the cemetery itself, and they can be used as kind of a access to Prospect Park. So, so they have an ability to actually enjoy the park, and kids and folks can actually have a better means of access to Prospect Park and the cemetery.
So the road's kind of running in between the parking lots are
Well, there's
for humans?
Yeah, the road,
Yeah.
there's a
Or-
kind of a 10-foot path.
Okay,
yeah.
That's
so it'll
what
be a little,
occurs.
a multimodal sort
That's
of,
just a
but
kind of
not,
multimodal.
yeah, but not a car.
Not for cars.
Yes.
I mean,
In an emergency of the, it's 10 feet wide and you drive up it
Right.
in an
Yeah, you only
emergency
want to
if
go
you
up it
need
if you have to.
but
yeah.
It's not intended for
Right.
regular use. It's not part of the circulation system for when the cemetery is operational. That's really just this portion.
Okay.
So when you say that the main entrance is,
Below here.
yeah, down there, But there's no parking in here, is there?
No, because the way, like, if you go to places like Mount Auburn Cemetery, or if you go to Forson's, landscape cemeteries typically don't have parking. The parking occurs along the roadway.
So you can drive in, you just park alongside of the
You
road?
look, you
Yes.
park along the side of the road.
Okay,
Yeah, the last thing I wanna do is put a parking lot.
thank
We
you.
did a parking lot essentially for the folks who are gonna be, in the sales office, and then also for the folks and that's it. But there are no parking lots, you utilize exactly the existing road.
Okay.
All set?
Yeah, just a very small thought that if people are gonna be driving in here and parking, there will be some dripping of oil and stuff like that, which will run off when it rains. But it has quite a distance to go before it gets into the wetlands.
Yes, and before it gets in there, that's our series of bioretention areas.
Yes.
And ultimately the constructed wetland that are sprinkled throughout to pick up that runoff.
Do I take it that you've done things like this before?
Yeah, I do bioretention areas all the time. They're very, I lean as much as possible, space allowed, to go with more of the green infrastructure. Honestly, everything about it's better. It works better, it's cheaper to build, it's easier to maintain, looks nicer. So,
Thank you.
I'm not saying I don't do other stuff too when I have to, but I don't have to here, so.
Any questions from the audience? Mr. Kirk?
Chris Kirk, 40 Westwood Road. Could I just go over to the?
Absolutely.
I can put it on here, would that
Yeah.
be easier for you?
Well, the thing is,
Oh,
it may be easier for me, but.
oh, okay, all right,
Watching
okay,
on
there you
TV,
go, all right.
I'm thinking about that. Could you just point out where Prospect Street is on this map?
Right here.
And 140 is where?
140 Prospect Street?
No, 140, the
Route
road.
140.
Oh, it's over here, yeah.
Okay. I want to see where it is. Okay.
It might be better with a different.
So-
This is a very confusing plan, what do you think? Let me get you a better plan, 'cause this has all our.
I'm good for 3 feet, but not by 40.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Tom, there you go. All right, well, I'll,
There's this one too, so Prospect Street
No,
is
no,
here.
no, could we put it?
Sure.
I'll put it up here, wait, hold on.
Yeah, so that's the best one to use.
This is the
I'll
best
just
one
have it
to
on the
use.
side too.
Aha.
So Prospect,
We'll just
140,
have
the existing.
one question at a time, let Mr. Kirk ask his questions, and then everybody else can ask theirs as well after
All right.
Mr. Kirk is done.
So, this, where is the, where are the retention ponds and such?
Up here.
There's a few little ones kind of dispersed throughout, but they're very small.
And this is the existing entrance to Prospect Park, so right now, this is the existing entrance. There is a small gate here, but this is where the existing entrance is to Prospect Park, and right now, people just drive in here and park.
Okay, is there a stone wall in,
Oh, the stone walls are all shown, actually.
That's-
They're all stone walls
stone
here
walls
and here, and so
existing.
we're maintaining the stone walls, because I said, the intent is to have them become burial features.
okay, because on this drive that leads down to the main entrance, there were catch basins along the way, and and that whole system drains about like that. So this would be in the path of that drainage that's there?
I can't,
It
I
might
don't,
be going into the wetland system up here and
Yeah, he
just
said-
moving through it.
along this internal drive, he said there were catch basins, but they looked filled, actually.
Yes,
when I-
they do.
They don't look like they're functioning at this point.
Yeah, but there's water seeping,
Yeah.
and which is, I think somewhere around here, there's like a little wooden boardwalk. Or-
Yes,
Where would
that's right.
that be?
Man, I actually
Probably
think,
along one of these trails.
I think the boardwalk is like up here, to be honest with you. That's sort of within the park itself.
I think you're right. Okay, so, this is south of that, okay. And then you're gonna do some construction. This gets,
So it's just a wetland, it's
Yes.
a constructed wetland.
that won't be grassy. And this will be,
That'll be, remain untouched.
and this is going to be constructed down here?
No, just a
just this little-
restoration of the wall that's sort of come apart, so we're just gonna restore the wall there, that's.
Okay.
Yeah, and the idea is actually to pull some of the water back, so it's moves slower through the culvert,
Okay.
because there was concerns about flooding on this side.
And how wide is the roadway?
The roadway is 18 feet wide.
Okay, and of course, there are not gonna be any catch basins along there? are
Nope.
there? Okay, and where is the culvert that runs into the park?
Culvert that runs into the pond.
Yeah.
Do you mean the one out?
Out?
There's
Oh,
one-
out here, right
there's
out
one-
here.
Oh, it's right here.
Right here, on 140,
Okay,
140,
that's
yeah,
the one that
that's
goes
it.
out?
Yeah.
And then, just the one last thing is, the removal of the boulders. If you're gonna bury bodies, you're gonna have to remove
Right.
the boulders. Where would that be roughly?
Well, the bodies, the intent is that, well, hopefully it'll be mostly cremated remains, but the initial piece is really, the development's gonna be in this zone right along here.
So that's where you're gonna have to remove the boulders?
Yeah.
So,
And this will not?
No, the idea is this is gonna be cremated remains.
Okay, I'm sorry I'm not going through you, Mr.
that's fine. You-
Apologize.
That's absolutely fine. Have they answered all your questions?
Pretty much. That I may have more later.
That's okay. I have another question, and Mr. Kirk brings up a valid point. In the area that you're going to do the burials
Yes.
and monuments, how do you augment the soil to facilitate that happening? In other words, you have to take out the boulders, you have to make sure you're physically able to dig there.
Right,
So what is the process?
of taking out the boulders?
Do you wait?
Do you,
until-
do you set this whole site up so that when the time comes to bury
Yes.
Bury someone's
The
that
intent is
ma-
you set the site up so that when.
So what is the process to set it up?
I mean, I think that's,
Is he talking, is he referring to putting in the,
So you have to come and put a vault in, you have to
no,
do,
no, we're not putting any,
they're not
no
pre-installed.
pre-installed.
but the issue is, to get to that point, not to pre-install anything, are you going to level the site off, take the boulders out, make it so you're readily, it's easy for somebody to come in and dig?
With the backhoe. to-
Correct.
Right, that is correct.
Is there a process or a plan to do that?
Well, the site isn't being leveled off. The site, it's, as you see in the grading plan, is what it's going to look like. It's basically being built into the, give or take, in the existing.
So in other words, if somebody comes in with a small backhoe to dig a burial site, and they hit a huge boulder,
Well, that happens all the
That
time in
happens
cemeteries.
a lot in cemeteries.
that's
and
what
they-
you-
They
you-
have to get them out, and unfortunately with some of them, it causes them to dig a bigger hole than they intended the first time through. And the boulders come out, and
because there are a lot of boulders in this area.
Yeah, well, there are, yes, understandably.
So that, but I think the bigger question, that will be on a person-by-person, or a hole-by-hole basis.
We're gonna-
Not
Right.
we're gonna dig a really big hole right now,
Right.
get all the big stuff out,
They-
put the dirt back,
Yeah.
and then every time they dig a hole from here on out, it'll be easy peasy lemon squeezy.
yeah, they're not going to do what some cemeteries do
Right.
is pre-install the vaults.
Exa-
And they
yes.
dig all the holes, they put the concrete vaults in the ground, it's all set, all they have to do, they're pre-marked, all they do is then, like you said, easy peasy, dig the hole down to the vault and go in. They're not doing that here. Now, it's possible 5 years from now, the town in this area maybe they come into some money, maybe they have a grant, maybe they have a desire to, maybe in the first couple of years, they found, wow, there's a lot of rocks here, and this has been a huge hassle, so let's plan it out for the future. But again, that would be down here, and it would be that kind of an excavation where, yes, they would dig out an area, remove the big rocks that are in the way, pre-buy the concrete vaults, put them in the ground, and have it all set up in advance, potentially before they sell those sites. But right
That's
now,
not
that's
planned.
not the plan. Right now, the
It-
plan is to go, give or take, burial by burial,
Okay.
Okay.
which, I don't know, I would say 50-50 how cemeteries do it.
Right.
Because the vaults are expensive, so.
I'm not even saying that, I'm just saying there was another town next to us did a cemetery, set the whole cemetery up. They went in, they crushed all the material, they put all the material back to a certain depth, they compacted it.
Right.
So when the time comes to do their burials, it's very simple. They dig down, it's basically a processed material.
Sometimes they,
Yeah, that's not the intent here, because the intent here is really to preserve the majority of the trees, and so the idea is that you're not gonna, you can do that if you sort of clear cut the entire area, and then you go ahead and clear cut the entire area and clean it up. But because the idea is to preserve, kind of groves of trees within the cemetery, you're gonna prepare as much as you can without disturbing the existing trees. And so you're gonna make way for the trees, but the intent is not to maximize the burial. This is actually avoiding the maximization of burial space, but actually trying to strike a balance between providing burial space, but also providing a space that is park-like and sort of respects the natural beauty of the site.
All right, any more questions? Can you go to the mic and say your name and address and ask away?
No, I only have one question. My name is Chuck Kilgore, and I live at 64 Prospect Street, right across the street from the main entrance. I have a concern about the water. It flows across that street. It's washed out my side yard. It's 2 inches in the cellar as I speak now. And point that out to me again, I think.
Well, the entrance is here. Unfortunately, I don't know where 64 Prospect is.
Right,
I'm
we're
afraid.
65. It's right straight across.
Oh, you're up here, okay, at
Okay,
64.
up here.
Yeah.
And the water just flows out of there. In fact, further down, there's a drainage pipe under the road. It drains into, what's the name of that little pond? Tip pond. Yeah, Tip pond. And that drains onto Spring Street, and that's where Spring Street got the name.
Oh,
Because the hill is all springs.
yeah.
That's granite up there.
Okay.
And that's those are springs just feeding that whole piece of land down in here. That's why it's not wetland now, I believe.
Well, this part up here is indeed wetland, you're right. All this is wetlands, I agree, but we're not even anywhere near that.
No, you're right across.
We're
street from
down
my-
below.
You're
Yeah.
right straight across. I pull out my driveway, you're going yours.
Oh, sorry.
But the water comes right straight.
Yeah.
Right out of that park, across the street and right into my cellar.
yeah, so as part of the work, this driveway from basically where this is the new parking area from this point back to Prospect Street is being repaved, slightly regraded. And we are constructing a few swales and bioretention areas. Bioretention areas basically, for people who don't understand, it's basically a small, shallow depression in the ground that collects storm water, holds it back, lets sediment settle out. As much as possible, will infiltrate back in the ground. And bigger storms will then overflow, but it will it's gonna take the top off. Is basically what it's gonna do.
There's an ice problem in the winter too.
Yeah,
Water
and
flow.
And
Now,
it'll
It
take
flows
the
right
top
on
off
into
of
the
that
road.
a little bit as well.
And that's, we've had 3 cars on our front lawn since we lived there, making that corner. So this is my neighbor, and he lives in.
Does anybody else have another question? Can you come to the mic and say?
Stefan Bilniuk, 60 Prospect. I have a question about, if you could just explain again the visibility from Prospect. So today,
Right,
there are a lot of trees, obviously.
Right.
On the stone wall, there's also forsythias
yeah,
that are out of control, but they do provide a lot of coverage in the springtime.
right.
So what would be the new visibility for the buffer? How would I gauge what I'm gonna now see? Because today I see a beautiful forest.
Well, you're not gonna, if I'm gonna get my scale here. And that's a great question. So we are actually leaving a buffer of about 60 feet between the stone wall and where there's gonna be that path, or that multimodal path within the cemetery. And then beyond there, you see these sort of cloud-like things, those are the existing trees that we're also keeping.
These two?
Those are added, we are planting those trees, but
Okay,
we're
yeah.
keeping, these are all the trees that we're actually keeping. So you'll have 60 feet
Okay.
beyond the edge that where you're just gonna be, you're gonna retain that vegetation.
Okay. And anything happening with the stone wall?
We're gonna actually restore the entrance stone wall, and we're gonna use a similar kind of vocabulary to create the entry walls that are gonna be kind of like the Prospect
But
Park
in
stone
between,
walls.
in between
Nothing.
the, okay, so that'll just stay.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
we're
it
not
is a little
touching
bit ungroomed. so
Yeah, but that's the whole point.
Yeah, that's the
It's a rural cemetery.
Yeah,
Right.
okay. What about specifics for tree plantings? Do you have?
Yeah, we have the plants here, yeah.
numbers?
Yeah. I don't know if I have the total numbers, but we're doing a whole planted edge along, I forget the name of this street.
Merriam.
Merriam Street, and so we have a 50-foot buffer, and so and they're all native plants. And let's see here. I haven't personally counted them, I'm afraid, but the idea is that, let's see here, landscape plan 2.0, materials. Let's see, L1, all right, where's my landscape? Aha,
Go anyplace else on the other board?
all right. I'm looking for a plant list. is what I'm looking
Don't,
for.
no.
And I'm not actually finding.
I don't know
it.
who they've
Moment, here we
been
go.
before.
Issue
So that might be a good,
four. Overall layout.
I don't know if they have to do
layout
planning.
plan. Let me
I'm
see.
kind of
Hold on,
a
let me go
little
to
hazy on why, who needs.
Planting plan, L 3.0. Here we go.
L 3.0.
The very last page.
Here we go.
AK.
Okay, here are the plants. I didn't kind of add them all up, but if I can see, we got 20, 12, 21, 7,
Yeah, like
12.
A few hundred.
Yeah, a few hundred, and then there's shrubs, 27, 135, 16, 20, 27, 19, 23. I mean, again, so several hundred plants and trees will be planted throughout the entire area.
Yeah, and this looks like a lot of density here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Still without a
Any other questions?
Yeah, one more question, I don't know if this is appropriate here. What's the rationale for doing the traditional burial here by the street versus pushing it further in?
Well, we're gonna do the rationale is that, okay, there's a couple of things to think about, is that sort of, so that the notion is that we're keeping the burial kind of like along this edge here, because it's closest to the entrance, and I think that, we think that number one, for preserving kind of more of the natural qualities of the remaining of the site, we would probably focus on that zone, is because it's more like park-like, so the traditional burial could exist within a park-like setting. That's why we're saying that. Whereas here, where it's just wooded and where we're trying to preserve most of the woods, is where we're promoting more of the cremated remains, and also cremated remains along kind of all the existing stone walls. So you get buried in front of the stone wall, and then you can have your name sandblasted on the stones.
And
Now I have to move.
There you go. Well,
All
that's
right.
the
Move
hope.
across the road.
We wanted to make it a place where people come to.
Any other questions?
May I, Ken?
Yeah, you sure,
Yeah,
but just,
Bill Davis, Wheelock Street, Precinct 1. A question on the parking lot. What
Yes.
are the dimensions of this parking lot and the estimated time of construction?
That'll be part of this project.
Phase one of-
Phase one. Yeah, this is all phase one. This is all gonna be done all at once. And the layout, I'm gonna take it's gonna be a double-sided, and we,
Kept it, I have to pull a layout. We're going with like we're going with a narrow drive aisle, like a 22 feet drive aisle, and probably a pretty standard space.
Yeah.
It's
20 feet.
9-ish.
Right.
9
So-
by 20
So,
probably.
a dozen cars, maybe more?
I've got to look.
It's about maybe.
Just an estimate, I
Give or
don't need it.
take maybe a dozen on each side.
Dozen, okay.
20,
Okay,
24 if I remember.
And the other thing that was important is there's a beautiful stand of white pines there.
Oh, yes.
And this parking has moved away from that, so we preserve the white.
Yes, that was a great move.
Here, keep
Yep.
going,
To deal with that.
keep going.
Should we keep this open?
Yeah.
Yes, they have a.
Go to the overall.
I think I'm good, thank you.
Okay,
One last question.
Oh, here we go.
go right ahead.
So yeah, just to answer the question, they're 9 by, oh no, we did go with 24, so what is this?
Here's a
I should've
scale.
put a number.
Here,
1,
Just-
2, 3,
that's
4,
close.
5,
Yeah.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
That's much
12,
better than it is
13,
now.
Oh, go
13
ahead.
inside, 26-ish.
All right.
Plus,
Fabulous.
plus 4, except,
As
you
they
know,
plan
it's
for
4
future
of them are-
activities at this
yeah.
site, that's great.
we'll have EV parking stations too.
Okay,
Last question.
Yeah.
Noise during construction, so I work from home, I have a pretty intensive job. So like, am I gonna be hearing things for several months and going bananas on my calls? Is
I
my-
respect that, I know,
Yes.
I'm,
I mean, it's hard to say, it's gotta be standard hours, I mean, it is construction
that's what I
equipment and
work. I work
fairly,
standard
yeah, I
hours.
know, and that's, I'm just giving.
well,
you-
I mean, if, as long as it's allowed, whatever the
It's-
working hours are within town, then, I mean, I'm sure they have to, they can do it.
I mean,
All right, Mr.
we-
Kirk, you have one more question?
Canceling it?
Yeah.
No more? All right,
Typically-
thank you.
Just
you.
to continue, so we, you know, they typically include no idling requirements on the construction equipment, which is state law now, so you'll only hear it when it's actually doing something.
What can we, all right. thank you.
Okay.
Sure.
So I think that the staff has to go over some more of your plans here, so probably leave this open for another month.
Yeah, just to review, I'm sorry, I was
Right.
out of, we received these, a little late, and I was not able to review them, because I was out of the.
okay.
Next meeting is January.
So getting a better idea of the stormwater standards would be. you know.
All right, the stormwater standards.
Do you know if you'll need a stormwater permit through the town, or
Oh, you can ask him.
if there are any other boards that you'll need to?
No, I don't believe there's any other boards that we need to go to, so, but, I mean, we will ultimately, as we said, it's 19 acres or whatever it is, so we will have to file with NIPD's, the CGP, you know,
Okay.
typicals.
Well, we'll probably, if you ask for a continuance, we'll continue this to the January 16th meeting.
Okay.
You wanna ask?
I don't know, do you wanna ask for continuance? Is that?
I was gonna let you do it.
Oh, I'll ask for, all right, I guess I'll ask
You're
for the
the project
continuance.
manager.
All right,
Thank you.
there you go. Well, and you'll, for further review and additional
Correct,
questions?
yes, because
Okay.
that gives the engineering department a chance to look over
Fair
a
enough,
little bit.
no, that's fine.
and,
We're just happy we were able to be meeting
Yeah,
here
yeah,
today.
no, it was very, very, a lot of information came before us, so it gives us a chance to digest some of it, okay?
Here, I'm gonna
Yes, we might have some,
That's fine.
requests to
That's
see
totally fine.
larger scale stormwater plans and stuff.
Oh.
just to-
You have the details for the bio,
Yep,
Right.
yeah, there's
Th- th-
details.
those are all in here?
Yeah, the details
here?
for the bioretention area and the constructed wetlands are in there.
Yep.
Okay.
And the design calcs for all of them are in
Excellent.
the stormwater
What-
report.
except-
We haven't done a particular specific planting plan, I don't think.
we haven't done a planting plan for the constructed wetlands.
Well, we should have
Yes,
that,
that would be
100%.
We should add the planting plan, so, yes, so, yeah.
And will that be, I know a lot of the times those conservation mixes are majority grasses. Will those be kind of mowed or maintained, or will they be
There,
You know,
left to?
the goal, yeah, the goal is,
and then it'll get shaded out
in Right.
succession.
Okay. So
it's-
shrubs are the long-term?
yeah,
Okay.
it's, generally those things, I mean, just because of the way they're graded and the way they work, they're almost impossible to mow.
Yeah,
So
but
it's.
I know with a
it-
more traditional basin, it's mow the whole thing down and.
Right.
That
and
doesn't
the
sound like it fits with
bioretention-
the constructed
the
wetland, but-
bioretention areas, we actually call for them to mow like once a year,
Okay,
just because they are so shallow and small. If you do let the vegetation grow wildly, we try not to keep woody vegetation in there because it takes volume away from the basin. No, for the bioretention areas, no, in the bioretention areas, the constructed wetlands are a different animal. The constructed wetlands, we will actually probably plant some shrubs in the higher marsh areas.
It looked like there was some.
There are shrubs in the higher marsh areas, yes.
Yeah, and things of that nature, which is typical in the bioretention areas. We may plant some shrub more on the upper edges of it, but we try to keep out, like
Just
I
let
said,
them-
they're shallow, I think we went with maybe 8-inch total depth max.
Okay.
And those ones, they mow them once a year.
Okay.
You're generally good.
So you can provide us with a maintenance plan too?
Yep, those are in the storm.
Awesome.
Okay. And so you're thinking you're not gonna have to do much with stormwater because of all this nature-based, work that you're doing here?
Yes, that's the goal.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm pretty sure we may not be putting in a single catch basin, if memory serves me
Yeah,
right.
there is no, as far as I can tell.
I think the only pipe we might have is on the constructed wetland, there is an outlet control structure with a pipe that goes to a flared end section with a riprap outlet, for the big, for bigger storm events and overflow. But I think that's the only pipe we're putting in the ground too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, and I'll leave these here for you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so on to new and old business, discuss and sign orders of conditions. Would somebody like to make a motion?
Let's
Thank
see.
you. Chris will probably help us out.
Everything to a rain garden into the ground.
So I was gonna say, we have 195 Gulf is continued, 36 Sewell, we have lots 1, 2, and 3, right? 2, 3, and 4.
Right.
So I make a motion that we issue order of conditions for lots 2, 3, and 4, 36 Sewell Street. Do we use the new addresses, 23, 25, and 27 Sewell Street?
I would recommend a condition that when they are recorded at the registry of deeds, they be recorded under the new address, so that it can be located in the
Correct.
future.
Excuse me, so we should probably make individual motions since they're their own, they're gonna be their own.
Yep.
So why don't we make an individual motion, so you,
Yep.
for
Okay.
lot 2,
I make a motion that we issue an order of conditions for Lot 2, 36 Sewell Street, address to be 27 Sewell Street. Do we have any conditions? No, I think we're good.
do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion, we approve Lot 3, or issue an order of conditions for Lot 3, 36 Sewell Street, address to be 25 Sewell Street.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And make a motion, we issue an order of conditions for Lot 4, 36 Sewell Street, to be addressed as 23 Sewell Street.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now,
Then we had
Green Street.
276 Green Street. Trying to remember if we had anything else on that. No, so I make a motion, we issue an order of conditions for 276 Green Street.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I do want to note that there was a recommended special condition from Ecotech that the unmapped, undelineated wetlands on site
Right.
be just
Undulated, what, yes.
noted that they are unmapped.
And perhaps you can write that in as a note on the order?
Yes.
You will do that? Awesome. Okay, so we have a second. Do we have all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
And
that's the only ones I had.
unfortunately, that's it.
Well, we got the majority of Sewell off.
We did.
Yeah.
All right,
3
so
quarters of the way.
moving on to discuss and sign certificates of compliance.
Okey doke, I have a few of those for you tonight. You may note on your agendas that they may or may not be crossed out. So the first one we have is 11 Sunset Lane. They had come, the original NOI was for the addition, the construction of an addition on the house. They have since realized that some additional work was performed on the house, including the construction of a dock and a few decks. So they will be filing an NOI. and we will not be issuing the certificate of compliance until I've received the NOI, just to make sure that
Okay.
we're staying on top of that. 55 Shirley Road was, oh gosh. I can't remember what the NOI was for, but the construction was all completed. He was actually taking down, the
Straw wattle.
the silt fence while I was there today, and, you know, nicely returning the earth to how it had been. So that one was all set. Oak Meadow Circle, this is kind of the final piece of Oak Meadow Circle. The houses on the circle have been have their own orders of conditions and have been closed out. This was just for the road. It is complete because there are houses on it and it's all set. 197 Spring Street is still on here. This is where the chicken coop was built. It will not be closed tonight. I have not received an RDA. I was going to follow up with the applicant to see why I have not received a new application. 170, 180, 200, and 228 Hartford Turnpike, Edgemere Crossing. This is for the residential section of the Market Basket complex. So this will just close out the residential buildings. There's 9 of them. The associated parking lots for the residential section, and then 2 of the stormwater basins on the property. There's one that is only served by, or only serves the left, if you're standing at the road, the left side of the project, and then there's one at the rear that serves the rear residential spaces. There's the humongous stormwater basin that Mr. Grenier was referencing tonight that will not be closed out with this, and then the remaining commercial properties attached to the site will not be closed
So
out.
this, where it says 170, even though it says 170,
Yes.
it's not closing out one.
It is not,
it's
it was a
closing
partial
out.
certificate of compliance. I specifically put in what is the partial part, what has been completed is the residential section.
So not the rest of 170,
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
just residential.
But
and that's written in.
that
in there.
title just says, is just what the order of conditions was written for.
Okay.
So it does not necessarily denote the whole parcel, or the closing of the whole parcel.
Okay,
For some reason, 51 to 53 Bayview Drive got on here again. I must have just missed it. It has already been issued. It is all set.
Oh, it's done, yeah.
603 South Street is part of the Falcon Farms projects. This one has been built for the longest. It is not, there's several orders of conditions on that. It's like a large parcel of a subdivision. The one where restoration of wetlands is occurring will stay open. They were doing a crossing to get to more upland land. That is open. They just planted the plants for that restoration area this fall in September, October. So that will not be able to be closed for another couple years at least for monitoring time. And there are no homes on it. But this one was all set and is in good order. The
Okay.
area has been seeded appropriately. The grass has come in. It's well stabilized. It's a good.
okay.
And last but not least is 116 Boylston Circle. This was for the construction of a garage addition. The garage is complete. The rear yard has been reseeded and is very, very stabilized. I requested that they still have their erosion control up and they have their Mass DEP sign up. I requested that they can remove those at this point in time, and that all all materials that cannot be broken down be removed, and
Okay.
the straw and the wattles can stay if it would like. And that's that.
All right,
It's a signing. How many years do I have?
okay.
Should be 3 lots, 36.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, you're talking about the certificates?
Yeah, orders of, so here are all your certificates of compliance to sign. 1, 2, 3,
Yes, okay, I'm tired.
4,
You know how sometimes it just sort of
4 orders.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely.
Would you like me to talk while you write?
That'd be great.
Okay, for construction updates and proposals tonight, this is kind of a, this month has become a catch-all for materials. The first thing I have on the agenda is the Camp Winigan Trail Ramp. This is outside the 100-foot buffer zone, but it is on conservation land. So I think I will just need a vote from you guys saying it is okay that they build stuff on conservation land. They are proposing to put in a parking lot on the, is it Route 140 side? And then they would also like to put in a kind of an ADA accessible trail at some point. That will be like a tack on if they have funds for it, but the parking lot is guaranteed.
They came in before us and discussed this, correct?
Yes.
And this is off of Route 140, the town was going to be cutting
Yes,
some of the trees.
yeah,
and providing
it sounded like they came in a long time ago, got this approved. This is for the addition of the trail off of the parking lot that will be more ADA accessible. But it is far, far away from
That's
the
towards
wetlands as
Grafton,
well.
right?
Yes. So there's that. When you finish signing, I'll ask for a vote. Our second update is for 8 Northland Road. This project was before the town, they have an order of conditions. It was the construction of a few homes. They had, they were related but had separate orders of conditions. They had on the plan put in stormwater solutions. They did not build them to to the order. So they are trying to correct that. They are also coming into issues because they did not build them to the order. The water has been, instead of, sorry for this very, very tiny map, but I'll calm down. So the house is up here, they have a very long drive, and then it hits Northland Road. The water currently outlets at the very end of the driveway, creating freezing issues in the winter and pooling issues in the summertime. It's supposed to outlet kind of up here, sort of near the wetland, and have some time to settle out without causing lots of issues. In previous years, there was, because the stormwater would come out here, it was sedimenting the sidewalk as well. They have remedied that, and I think that was before you to remedy that. They had an enforcement order at some point, and now they would like to fix the stormwater so that it doesn't keep.
So are they coming before us with, what's the request?
I think it was just an update because this is actually fixing, this is getting it closer to what the order had prescribed. So they're currently kind of out of sorts and they are getting closer to sorts. So I don't think they needed to amend because,
Just an update then.
yeah,
Until-
just an update.
until they're
so that-
ready.
Yeah, you know what's going on. Our last construction update is the 20 to 22 Greylock enforcement order that was issued. That was issued a few Fridays ago. I was gonna have you guys. Oh, you already signed it for me. I was gonna have you ratify my signature for that enforcement order. An enforcement order was issued at 20 to 22 Greylock. It was formerly known as 37 to 39 Melvin Ave and 42 Sadler Avenue, because it was not built to specs or built according to the order of conditions.
Couple things. Can we have the applicant on the agenda?
Yes, for the January
That's-
meeting.
We need he needs to come in to discuss what's going on since it was not constructed in accordance with the order.
Yes. I had, so part of the enforcement order is, what actions would you like the applicant to take? I'd requested that an amended order be submitted by January 16th.
Okay.
If it has not been submitted, probably another enforcement order can be issued saying, hey, you didn't do what we asked you to do additionally.
With this enforcement order, can this be recorded against, at the
No.
registry? It cannot?
Yes, no, I cannot.
So it can't be deed restricted at all?
Why is that?
I-
The order itself is.
Yeah, the order of conditions can be, I'm not sure why an enforcement order cannot be recorded, but, and I think I just took Andy's word for it, so I can
I'd
check
like to
in and
find
see,
out
yeah.
that because it's
Yeah, I'll give him a
important that
shout.
these, I know you had loaded some pictures up onto the drive today, and it shows that our concern was well-founded because the houses have flooded.
Yeah.
And they're brand new, and they were supposed to be constructed with an open basement and none of the floodgates.
What's this place?
And he's constructed them, they were constructed not in accordance with the order.
Holy crap.
So they did get an opportunity to take more photos of them inside. There is water inside of the basements.
Yep.
It is functioning as it was built to, but yeah, we had an issue with that overall to begin with, so.
Well, they were supposed to be open.
Yes, exactly.
They-
So they were not
It's
built
supposed to
to how we would.
It's supposed to be
how-
storage space for
But-
the, for the
So
flood,
wait,
for water.
these are the gates, right?
And they weren't supposed to install those.
And they're above where the water is, so nothing's happening with those.
Well, no, the water's in the house. You don't have a picture, you can't see the picture, but the water is in the house. But they weren't supposed to install the gates.
No, they
They
weren't.
were supposed, it's like, this is all supposed to be open.
The water's going under the sill.
Completely
and
open,
Yeah.
under the door.
like a beach house.
Correct. That's the way we approved it. I think it maybe was, I don't know if you were here at that point.
But they had already poured the foundation as of last month.
Yeah, last month was when we first talked about the fact that it was
Yeah.
in violation of what we approved.
Yeah.
Right, so he needs
That
to,
is
he needs to come in with his crew, because what they presented to us is not what they built. So he needs to explain what he's going to do to resolve it.
Right.
I just hope he doesn't sell the home before he does that.
If he does, is there any
I don't know.
repercussion?
I'm trying to find that
If,
out.
if the order of conditions can be tied to the deed, not sure why the violation couldn't be.
Yeah.
Well,
I would like, maybe you can call somebody at the
maybe the
DEP.
intent,
Yeah, I will ask DEP. I will also call the Registry of Deeds to see if they have
So
limitations.
there's
on what
that
can
much
be
water
recorded.
going into the
Oh,
basement.
this is the lake photo.
The light.
There's the- Yeah, you
And
can see the
this
little
happened
river outside.
because of yesterday's rain? Oh my God, it's a lake.
Well, it's in a flood, it's the
Okay,
it's a
this
flood
is
zone.
those.
kind of what we,
I think this is the other basement, and you can see there's a, is it? Yeah, there's a substantial amount of water in that one.
That's what it's supposed to
Feel free
do,
to click through the photos.
Diane, but there's not supposed to be any windows in here. This is not
No.
supposed to be a finished basement, and it's all supposed to come in and go out, and now it's restricted, so.
the water's doing what we thought the water would do.
Yes.
The basement is not. The
Yes.
basement's not
It's
doing what it's
not supposed to
do.
be a basement. supposed
It's
to
also
be-
below,
It's not supposed to be a basement at all.
the,
Right.
the site itself
It's for
is,
storage.
is probably like 6 inches below the erosion control that's installed. There's like a little ledge
Mhm.
that the erosion control sits on, and then the yard drops. I don't know if they were intending to loam and seed it, but at this point, it would be difficult because the framing is at ground level. So the water is probably being retained better right now because it's in a bowl within the yard.
All right,
And there's
so
erosion control, so
that's,
that's holding it in.
so he'll be on the agenda for next month.
Yes.
And we'd like him to come in.
Yes.
And we would like anybody especially from the neighborhood that voice their concerns, if they have any concerns.
Mm-hmm.
I would like them to be able to speak, and anybody else that has some concerns. Okay,
They had pictures of these exact same events over the last several years, right? So,
Yeah.
they did.
Okay, prior to adjourning, I have 2 requests for votes. If you
did we
could vote
talk about
to-
Arbor Drive culvert?
Oh, yes. So I realized after I put that on the agenda that the culvert is privately owned, so it's not
Oh.
a town matter at all.
Okay.
Thought it was conservation land, it is not. If you could vote on the Camp One again, the permission to construct a trail ramp on conservation-owned land.
I make a motion that we allow the construction of a trail ramp on conservation land for Camp Wanigan.
You have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then the last is to approve I think you guys had liked the meeting dates that were the 3rd Tuesday of the month.
Yes.
Is that okay to approve?
Basically the same as now, right?
Yes, exactly. Chris, can I have a motion?
Oh, I make a motion that you say we need to make a motion for that?
Yes.
Okay, so I make a motion that we approve the schedule of meetings for 2024, where the meetings will be held the 3rd Tuesday of every month.
Do we have a second? Yep, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
else for you.
Is that it?
Yep,
Next
we do.
meeting, January
Can I
16th.
just say, I
January
grew up in a house in a very posh town. We didn't live there for long, but I loved it until I was 6. We got to live in Newton Center. And we lived at the base of an incredibly steep hill. And our house was here, there was a retaining wall, and boom, the water would fill the basement every time it rained. And I had fantasies of letting my goldfish go free.
Oh.
I wanted so badly to do this, but I was terrified that the furnace was going to like blow up or something.
And boil your goldfish.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.